Wai isquis Kaykaitkw kin Syilx na Nlaka'pamux kin tolyaya clacking kin Syilx itimpulau. Hello, my name is Harron. I am Syilx and Nlaka'pamux, which is Thompson and Okanagan, and I'm from all over in those areas.
What, in your opinion, do families need if they've gone through a tragic loss?
I think families that have gone through a tragic loss, they need a lot of support, and they need a lot of guidance on what to do and how to address certain issues if their loved one has gone missing, especially like in situations where it's critical that they act upon it right away so that they could find their loved one, because a lot of times I think when people go missing, you have that time period where if you don't act upon it, then there's a chance that you won't ever find them.
So what is it that you think people need to do? Like, what is your advice that what kind of action do people need to take?
I think the action that people need to take is talking to RCMP right away and explaining to them what the situation is. Trying to go through all their contacts of the missing person and finding out who they had contact with last and when and where and times, and having those people forward that information to RCMP. And if the RCMP aren't listening, then you need to bang on their doors and occupy those spaces every day to push the case forward.
What kind of things can community do on its own if the RCMP isn't helping?
I know just from my family's experience, what we did is we contacted everyone that we knew in my cousin's circle, and we jotted down information and kept it like our own case. We did our own investigation, basically. That's what it boiled down to. We did our own investigation along with RCMP, and anytime we found critical information, we would ask those people to come forward and make statements. And we would follow up with RCMP and ensure that they had those contacts and they had that information. And I know in those cases, I think there's a sensitivity with the issues, and RCMP can't tell you what's going on with the case. And I think that kind of hinders the situation in some aspects.
Can you just repeat that again? Like, you know that sometimes cases from the part you said sometimes it's difficult for them to relay sensitive information.
So sensitive information, RCMP can't pass along to families, but it's important for them to know those details so they could dig up more information that could lead to possibly finding their missing loved one.
You mentioned, if you could say it in your own words, but you talked about a vigil that led to, that created quite a bit of public pressure. If you could talk about that a little bit?
When my family first found out that our loved one was missing, we held a vigil in honor of her, and it was actually, it wasn't a vigil, it was a walk of faith. It was a walk of faith that we would find her and that she would come back to us. And at that point, we thought she would come back to us safely. But during the walk of faith, we had media and we had RCMP, the Aboriginal RCMP liaison, accompany us. And I think that added pressure on those that committed the crime to come forward, because we walked in their neighborhood to ensure that they knew what we were doing and that they would be held accountable.
What words of advice would you have to folks who are watching this video and are at the beginning of a journey?
So for those folks that are at the beginning of a journey of looking for their loved one, my advice to you would be stay strong, be patient, and really push for and advocate that they come home. And whether that's through media or through talking with the police or talking to general public, they need more people who are knocking down doors and making those phone calls and doing that investigative research on the ground. I would just like to add that we need to train our own people to be qualified in looking for a missing person, and to conduct those searches that we could do like independently, and that is at the same level as the police and RCMP, because we're not getting results with them. So we need to create our own body, whether it's having what are those dogs that like sniff around? Search dogs, and having people trained in searching for missing people. I know for Aboriginal women the cases are slightly different, because a lot of times we're not looking in wildernesses, but I think those qualifications could be relevant to our situation. I know even when my relative went missing, they suspected that she was out partying, and that's what they reported in the media, that hopefully she was just out partying and would come home soon, even though we informed the RCMP that no, she hasn't contacted anyone. And I think when they reported her as somebody that was partying, even the community members, they kind of took a step back from looking for her, because they believed in that stereotype, and that stereotype is getting reinforced within social media, within the police system, within our communities, and we really need to stop reinforcing those images of our women, and understand that when they don't contact somebody, especially when they're in contact with somebody every day, that something's wrong and that something needs to be addressed. They need to create a communication protocol within like the band office or the First Nation community, or within some type of organization that's like Indigenous run and led, and with the RCMP, so that when pertinent information comes up, that the family members could have that information right away, or that things are acted upon sooner.
How to deal with the overwhelming grief. What kind of things has your family found helpful?
Overwhelming grief. I think the things that we have found helpful is that we've been working together, and we've been working diligently together to push the case forward. And we've been communicating and talking about what happened instead of hiding it or being ashamed of what somebody else did. Because I think that kind of happens within our communities, because it kind of re-marginalizes families a little bit more, where it becomes like a shameful thing, where like, oh, my sister or my daughter or my relative went missing, and then there's that guilt there and that remorse. So I think just talking about that and sharing it with each other and sharing it with community, and it helps a little bit. I think looking to culture has been really helpful. I know a lot of times my family, they go and sweat, or they go to the water and they pray. And one of the things that we did during the Walk of Faith is that it was done in prayer. It was as much as it was an act to let the general population know that she was missing. It was for us to do in prayer, so that we could resolve within ourselves and with each other what occurred, and that she was gone, and to have that kind of I guess that connection to her spirit. So I know we hear a lot of information about missing and murdered Indigenous women, but we don't hear about their children. And a lot of them are mothers, and what happens to their children? Where did they go? Who did they live with? Do they have any support? Do they have anyone to talk to and share their experiences? I haven't seen anything like that.